Hey everyone, it is Aging Grateful. I'm Bobby,
And I'm Cedric.
and today's video is we are answering some questions that have been asked of us throughout some of our videos, and we thought we would go ahead and answer a couple of these questions that we've been getting.
Yeah.
And so we will start with
Question number one.
question number one.
Is it really worth not having a car?
Good question. Good question.
That's a good question.
We have gotten this a couple of times, and so we thought that it was worth answering.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it is worth it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it depends on your lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle are you trying to have? Or do you want to live in the city central, walk into everything, or not? And one thing we're finding out is you can still live in a neighborhood and have everything you need. So it doesn't have to necessarily be like city central, downtown type living, right? So you can still live in a quote unquote colonial, or just American suburb, and still have access to everything you need walkable.
I can speak for us. It's nice not having the car notes and the insurance and the maintenance
and the responsibility and liability.
Yeah, that too. And it's actually changed our mindset in some ways, because society teaches us that we should have some mode of transportation, especially if you can afford to have a mode of transportation. The thing that we're finding is, one, it's allowing us to really spend time seeing the areas in which we are traveling, right?
Right.
Like, we slow down, and if there's a store, we paying attention to it, or something new that they put up, or slight changes to things that are going on, or participating in some events that we didn't think that they were having, merely because we are walking. And a lot of times I think when you are driving or riding in a car, you get to miss those things, right? Because you're only focused on possibly getting to your destination, and there's this whole other series of things that are going on that are quite beautiful and quite awesome to experience not having the vehicle.
Yeah, I think there's been plenty of times we're riding in the car and we zip past something, like, oh, what's going on over there, or whatever, and then we zip past it, and you kind of say, oh, remember to look back over there or jot it down or something, and then you just kind of forget about it. Yeah. Now, I will say, and I've heard people say this all the time, having a car will open you up to more experiences, which is definitely true, because we have friends with vehicles and we've gone with them to places that we typically probably hadn't even thought about going. So it can, that's what I said, it boils down to what kind of lifestyle you're trying to live. Correct. At the end of the day.
Correct.
Because it can open up possibilities for other things.
Also, it helps us with our health too, because we walk.
I was just about to say that, yeah. Because I do notice, I can see how having a car can get you back into the quote unquote the U.S. lifestyle, where you're just driving everywhere, especially if it's warm outside or whatever. It's like, I'll just get in the car and go to the store. I'll just get in the car and do this instead of walking. So definitely.
Absolutely. We clock a lot of miles walking on our watches, right? So so there's that, and also being able to be free to just enjoy nature, because where we live at, there's a lot of nature where we are, and so we really get an opportunity to actually glean that. So is it worth not having a car? It can be. It is definitely for us. There are certain aspects, yes, you do miss from it, but from a perspective of being where you live and being able to understand and get to know that, it's
there's definitely things I miss about having a car, but overall, if I had to choose again, I probably wouldn't. No.
Which will go into question number 2 that we have
Question number
gotten a
2
few
is,
times.
Have we had any issues with our rental property? How's it been going? Any regrets?
Woo! Okay. All right. So, the rental property has been, I would say, a blessing.
And for those of you who don't know, real quick, we rented our house and we went back and forth, trying to decide we was gonna rent or sell, and we ended up renting it.
So we did rent out our property. Issues with our rental property, I would say they've been minimal.
Yeah. We had 2 issues.
Yeah, we had a couple of issues, but again, being prepared is key.
Yeah.
Having home warranties, we also have hired a property management company. So the calls that we have gotten have been things that were taken care of by those specific entities.
It's basically the property management company. Like we had one with the hot water heater pilot not lighting or something like that, and they were just basically like, look, we got a guy that can go out there tomorrow, or do you have your own person?
Mm-hmm.
It was that.
The other was basically our water issue, and we have included in our rental, we have a landscaping company that we've used since we bought the house.
Yeah.
They are awesome. And so we decided to continue paying for that service because we know that they provide stellar service. And so they actually help to take care of that situation.
Number 3. The reason, somebody asked about having separate account for our food.
People, it was actually a couple of people were asking us about our reasoning behind separating our food related expenses from everything else. And let's say we keep different categories in different separate accounts. So it's not just the food. We keep other expenses in separate accounts. And the reason why we do that is because it helps us to stay focused. It's not just the food.
Right.
It's a few, pretty much a lot of our items are kept in separate accounts just for that purpose, so nothing gets muddled. And we know when we're getting either close to it depleting or not. And it also allows us to be able to tweak.
Yes, easily.
If we need to, when the next month's budget comes, if we realize that, as an example of the Uber budget, we have gone over the Uber budget and we had to take money from another account or something in order to cover that, it helps us to understand why and where and how we need to
it's easily see it, because when the money is all in one account, it's easy not to really worry about it so much, because, for example, if our budget for Uber is $100 a month and it's sitting in an account with, $700, and I'm not really paying attention to how much money we're using on Uber, it's easy to just keep using it because you got all this money sitting in the account, and in your head, you kind of rectify, we'll take it somewhere else later or something like that, and versus having it separated, you can literally see it as you're using it, and when it's getting close, especially with the food. So the food being in one account, it's easy to see. When we go out to places, we're using one card. We know there's nothing on that card but money for food, so we don't have to worry about, how much did we really spend on food versus something else that's in the same account. So that's the main reason, and like I said, we do that with a lot of things, not just the food. With most of our stuff, we kind of separate out in different accounts. It's basically kind of the digital version of the envelope system that Dave Ramsey uses. So instead of carrying around cash or envelopes, we just have different accounts that we put stuff in.
Correct. And we do hold fast to that, which leads us into our next question that we have gotten a few times. Please share more on how you plan your monthly budget. So we use everydollar.com. as well as we do have our
Spreadsheet.
Excel spreadsheet. But it is kind of like the Dave Ramsey. We follow a lot of the principles, not everything, but we follow a lot of the principles. And Dave Ramsey, for those of you who are familiar with him, but every dollar has a name. Every dollar.
Yeah.
We follow the zero-based budget philosophy. So when you're planning your budget, it should equal out to zero at the end of the month. So we do that. We do have various categories, and one thing I do want to stress, I think it's important for us to stress too, with having a budget, it may seem like it's strict, but there's freedom in the budget, and that you should include everything you can think of, even entertainment, travel, fun. Don't leave those things out, because I know a lot of people think budget sacrifice, and it doesn't mean sacrificing and it being boring.
Right.
So that means that you're seeing where your money is going. So that's what we tend to use. Anything you want to add about the budget?
Not really. It's an ongoing thing. It's not a set it and forget it. It's like I said, every dollar is basically, you have your income coming in, and at the end it should be zero. Every dollar should be assigned going somewhere to where it's in the zero at the end. And sometimes we have to go back in the middle of the month and redo things because something comes up, right? Or something comes up, some plan we didn't see, somebody's birthday, somebody's this, somebody that. So we okay, we need to go back and redo this, or what can we change? Or this month we thought we was going to need this much for this, and it turned out it wasn't, or we needed more for this. So every month we're in there.
You know, it's a work in progress.
It's a living
document.
It's a living thing.
And you know, to be honest with you, you really do need to spend some time planning a budget. We have learned in our planning and budgeting, things happen too that are really outside of our control, you know, and so sometimes you do have to go back to the drawing board, you know, in the midst of a budget or whatever. But just knowing that you have something to work towards is good each month.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our last question that we get asked quite a bit. People are asking, how much money do you need to make to live abroad? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I get that all the time.
If we don't get this question at least a couple of times a week, and we'll say this.
It depends on the lifestyle that you want to live.
Absolutely depends on the lifestyle.
At the end of the day.
We can't determine how much a particular person or people need to make to live abroad, because that is definitely an individual person's choice, or people's choice. However, we'll say this: there are things that you can do as far as research is concerned in order to do your research. Like I think it's Nimbio.
Yeah.
And some other tools that you can use to see what the cost of living is. And they're pretty accurate.
Yeah.
The cost of living in places that you may want to go, and that should be a good starting point for you.
Yeah.
As well as getting into some of these like Facebook groups, these communities, in the different places that you want to go, because those people are boots on the ground.
Yes, and they can tell you what the real cost is. And even with that person's, even what they're telling you, their lifestyle may be different from yours. On top of that, but it definitely give you some type of baseline on what it is that, you know, it should cost you to live there, or, you know, some ballpark figure of what it would cost you to live there.
Also, I will say this because I just so happen to be a real estate agent. Talk to a real estate agent in the place that you, or a couple of real estate agents in the places that you are thinking about wanting to move to, because you can give them kind of a blueprint of what you may be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And they may be able to give you options of what's out there and available, and the price points, various price points, and then you can make a determination on the lifestyle that you want to live. You know, from living basic all the way up to high end, and what is that? What are those costs associated with places like that? You can do your due diligence and research on those things. They could give you things like maybe even the average utility bills for those areas. Those are things that they can help you with, so to give you a little bit more of an accurate picture of what living looks like, the cost of living.
Yeah. The only caveat I have to that is don't forget about, if you have any recurring debts that you're paying on and from wherever you're coming from, to add that into your budget, because you're still paying those things. Like, I don't know, student loans, if you got some type of mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
if you got, these things that are not being covered, if you have a mortgage and you have a rental, but it's not covering the whole mortgage or whatever it is, whatever recurring bills that you have that you're going to be, I guess, bringing with you, for lack of a better term, don't forget to include those in your budget and your expenses, because they're still there. They're still there. I'm not saying that that you have to be totally. Some people sell everything and pay off everything and move. Some people move with debt. Either way is fine. You just have to be able to account for whatever it is that you're doing. So that's that.
Yeah. So those are some of the questions that we tend to get, and thought we would spend some time answering those questions.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please like,
Subscribe,
and comment. Hit that notification bell, and
You got any more questions?
got
Let
any
us
more
know.
questions? Let us know. Otherwise, peace.
Deuces.